Hi, welcome back to another video. I thought today it would be fun just to have a little chat and talk about some of the books that I read in September. Stick around. Welcome back, everybody. I'm Gaby Triana. I'm the author of Wake the Hollow, the Haunted Florida series, the co-author of Paradise Island, a Sam and Colby story, and lots more books. Today I thought it would be fun just to sit and have a little chat. I don't have anything prepared. I usually get nervous and I have some sort of script to go by, and then I try to memorize it, and you know what? I'm just not going to do that. I'm just going to talk about 4 of the books that I read last month and how I like them. I might not even remember like the names of the characters or anything, but I'm just gonna do my best, so here we go. All right, so the first book that I read was Mexican Gothic by Silvia Moreno Garcia. I don't really know a lot about Silvia. I know that she's really good at what she does, so this was an introduction for me to read a little bit more, learn about her work. And I have to say, I really did enjoy this book. I love the cover. The cover is just absolutely beautiful. It just drew me in right away. And I heard that it was a very Gothic inspired story, which of course I love Gothic stories. What I really loved about it was that it reminded me a lot of the stories that I write. Gothic, atmospheric, something creepy going on in a house. I loved that. It reminded me a lot of Edgar Allan Poe's Fall of the House of Usher. Which is a story that I absolutely love and that I have drawn lots of inspiration from for my own stories, in that you have old world ways that are sort of deteriorating and decaying in this old house, and the house represents the old establishment. So then you have the young socialite coming in representing the new, and it's a slow burn horror. I don't know if I would describe it as horror, but it's sort of like a supernatural Gothic horror. That's kind of like what I write too. That's what draws me in. I just want to see like what's going to happen when I feel that dread being built, that slow burn. I'm really drawn to stories like this, and so I really did enjoy it. I think if I had anything negative to say, it would just be that it gets a little crazy at the end, a little I don't want to say it's not believable, because I mean a lot of paranormal horror stories are like, what's believable about them? Nothing. But that's not the point. So it's not that. It's just it got maybe a little too crazy at the end, but I mean otherwise I really did enjoy it. I've been having a lot of trouble finishing a book lately. Like, I will just start reading a book, and if it just doesn't hold my interest within the first chapter or 2, I will put it down and start something else. I'm not one of these people who will give a book a chance all the way to the end. The fact is, I just don't have the time, and there's so many books that I want to get through, and so many that I want to, so I just, it held my interest. So that right there is great. I mean, I'm not doing a rating system or anything, but I would give it, like a 5 stars. I enjoyed it. So Mexican Gothic, go check it out. So the next book that I'm going to talk about that I read in September was The Girl Next Door by Jack Ketchum. Actually, I just finished it, so I'm not going in order. This was my first introduction to Jack Ketchum. So I call myself a horror author, but I really am more into paranormal and Gothic. And so there's a lot of authors that I just haven't gotten around to reading, and I'm making it a point to correct this. And I know that it's a classic. I know it's based on a real life story of a girl, Sylvia Likens, who was murdered, tortured, and abused and murdered in 1965, I think it was. And I'd heard of the case before, but I just didn't know that the book was based on that. So, and I know that Jack Ketchum is just a legend, and he passed away not that long ago, and I'm really sorry to hear about that. I would have loved to have read more work by him. So what did I think of this book? Honestly, it broke me. Now, of course it's going to break me. Like, how do you read about this story and it not break you? I mean, it's about the torture of a child, of a teen, and you're there for it for all of it, for most of it. The writing style was very simple, so it's not like there's anything, uber literary about his writing style, and I think that was deliberate in order to A, sound like a child, and B, just present the facts and just draw you in as a reader. And I think that's probably what I found the most horrific about it, was how I was going along for the ride. So here's this child, this innocent child with her whole life ahead of her, and just little bit at a time, each chapter you just see the degradation of the situation, of what's happening and her life, and you know the direction it's going in. You know it's a train wreck about to happen. You know they're going to be awful to her. It is horrific in every sense of the word, and yet you can't put it down. So I was angry at Jack Ketchum in the middle of the book because I, A, didn't like what he was telling me about myself, which was that I have to see what happens to her, even though I already know. Like, why can't I put this book down just knowing what happened to her? No, I had to turn the pages to see. So in many ways, I was complicit along with the other kids in the neighborhood to what they were doing to this child. So that's pretty damn powerful. I can't think of the other thing I was gonna say. Darn it. So it says a lot, this book says a lot about just human voyeurism, I think, and how we just need to know, we just need to see, we need to turn the pages. And that was pretty fucking horrible, just gonna say. So yeah, I thought that what's brilliant about the book, again, isn't so much like the writing styles out of this world, poetic or lyrical or anything. It's just the fact that a story that can keep you thinking long after you put it down, can make you feel like shit about yourself. That's pretty impressive. I think that Jack Ketchum did his job as an author, more than did his job, brilliantly did his job, just getting me to sort of hate myself for being interested in the story. And I think that's where the brilliance and the genius of The Girl Next Door comes in. So, amazing book. So, another book I read, and I was given a copy of this because I have two little tiny paragraphs in it, is Tim Waggoner's Writing in the Dark. So, Tim Waggoner is, as we all know, a wonderful author, an amazing teacher. He knows horror, and he's just so brilliant at getting you to think about what you're writing and why and how to be better. And every time you think you're coming up with a good story, you read something that Tim has to say and you're like, oh shit. And then you go back and like scratch out something you're doing and like revise it and make it better. So, I that's what I loved about Writing in the Dark. So it is based on his blog, and there was just so much. I'm in the middle of a revision, and I was able to take a lot of the stuff that Tim said and apply it to my own story that I'm writing. And I've been writing for 30 years and I've been publishing for 20. So go figure, you can always learn something new. So thank you, Tim, and go get Writing in the Dark because it's awesome. So finally, the last book that I read or have been reading little by little is Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. And this is edited by best-selling author Jonathan Mayberry. It's put out by HarperCollins, and it's presented by the Horror Writers Association. And I'm sure you've been seeing it a lot in the last month because it just came out on September 1st. And it's awesome, okay? It's got such a wonderful collection of stories, great combination, and all of them in some way really honor the original, the Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark series by Alvin Schwartz, and illustrated by Stephen Gammell in the earlier editions, and then Brett Helquist in later editions. And so yeah, you're gonna find my story, Don't You See That Cat? My story is a lot simpler, and it's for a younger audience than some of the other stories, which are for older kids. And just so you know that, because I was a 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade teacher early on in my life, and my students absolutely loved scary stories to tell in the dark. So when I went back and revisited the stories before coming up with my story idea, I really wanted to hone in on that annoying thing that happens when you're a kid and you're trying to tell an adult that something is going on, and the adult just either doesn't have the time to listen to you, or they hear you but they don't quite believe you. It sometimes can be very lonesome being a child and being in this world where nobody believes you. And so I wanted to write about that. So my story is about a little girl who sees a cat. She sees a cat across the street, and little by little, every day, the cat gets a little closer and a little closer and a little closer. So I won't tell you what happens. I just will say, please go check it out. And all the other stories are absolutely brilliant. Go get yourself a copy of Don't Turn Out the Lights. You won't be sorry. And I'm still reading it, by the way. Every 2 or 3 days, I read one more story, And that's what's fun about anthologies. And it's the first time I'm ever in an anthology. So that was a lot of fun to work on. All right, well, those are the books that I read in September. I'm actually a very slow reader. You might be wondering, you only read 4 books, Gabby? Well, yeah, but I'm also writing a book at the same time. And as I tell a lot of people, and this is absolutely true, I write faster than I read. So it will take me half a day to read a chapter, and it might take me a day or 2 to read someone's chapter of the same length, because it's easy for me to get my words out, but it's difficult for me to absorb someone else's words. And besides, I really want to take in every word, and I don't like skimming through books. I really like appreciating them. So those are the books I read in September. I hope you enjoyed them. I'll be back to talk about some of the movies that I watched in September too. So hope you enjoyed that. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.